Hey, it's Mark Ferguson with Investor More. We're back at the Ocho, and we've got more drama, and this time it's parking lot, driveway, garage drama. And I mentioned this in my last video a little bit, and actually that truck isn't the culprit. It's a bunch of other people who are causing some issues. And of course, Colorado just changed their laws to make dealing with towing and different things much more difficult. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the issues we're having. We'll even mention building a new parking lot and the pros and cons of that as well. So this property is an 8-unit. It's got 8 garages, single-car garages that each go with one of those units. The tenants get that. And it's got 8 more garages that are 2-car garages like this one that we rent out separately. And so this is actually on the alley side. We don't have any issues here. Not a big problem. Where we do have problems is on the inside garages, where we have a trash truck come and take out the dumpster, and they keep calling us over and over again saying cars are in the way, they can't get the trash, and it's causing some problems. Not only that, but the way the cars are parking, a lot of times they're blocking other garages. So it's not a good issue. That van is parked kind of where some of those people park too, but he's working on a property right now. Not as big of a deal as tenants who just park there and leave their vehicles there. And a lot of people said, well, just move the dumpster out to the front. We could do that. We could build a concrete pad for it, and I guarantee you half of the neighborhood would be dumping their trash in our dumpsters almost immediately if we do that. We do a lot of construction. I've got a lot of flips, a lot of other properties, and that's how that works. So this was me last week after we got a call from the trash company saying, hey, we can't get in. There's a vehicle in the way. And so I drove over there a couple of hours later to see if it was still there. And again, we had this truck here parked. That is a tenant. Partially on the grass, too, which really bugs me because we had vehicles parked on the grass before. We have a sprinkler system. It hurts the grass. It can break the sprinkler system. Just don't park on the grass, right? So I put a green sticker on that truck. We've sent out letters to all the tenants saying you can't park here. We do have no parking signs on the way. I wouldn't think you'd need those, but apparently you do. There's a driveway. And before, this is previously, that truck was there with another truck blocking it. And then before that, we had a truck on jack stands blocking a few garages too. And so then today we got another call, or maybe my contractor was over there dealing with another issue, which we'll talk about here too, and said the trash truck couldn't get in. There's a car in the way. Well, apparently at least this time, the trash truck was able to get in because that car moved because people were there. But still frustrating, still annoying. And so we drove back again. And now there's another car there blocking garages, blocking the driveway. And the other car is still there. So this is a picture of the Ocho. We've had a lot of drama, squatters, issues, evictions. And while I'm talking about the parking lot issue, I don't have enough camera footage of the car just sitting there. I'm going to show you one of our beautiful evictions we had after I first bought the property. We had an inherited tenant. They didn't pay for a long time. And a lot of issues, and we remodeled the unit, got it re-rented. But anyway, so I showed up this morning, and one of the cars was there blocking a driveway, and there were people in it, which is an issue if we want to get it towed. We'll talk about that here in a second. I walked over to them, talked to him, said, hey, what are you guys doing? What's up? And he's like, hey, we're just, washing our car here or something. I'm like, okay. I'm like, you can't park here. I'm like, oh, okay, we're not parking here. We're leaving right away. I'm like, how soon are you leaving? Just a couple minutes, we'll be out of here. I'm like, okay, you can't park here. Like, why? What's the problem? We're in front of our garage. I'm like, well, for one, you're blocking 2 other garages because they're 1-car garages. No one else can get in if you leave your car here. Sure, if you're here to move it, that's great. But I'm 95% sure they've just left their car there before when nobody was there too and just parked it there. So I told Matt, I'm like, you can't do it. It's a no parking zone. The trash truck's got to get through. And like, oh yeah, the trash truck came through this morning. We let him by. We moved. I'm like, great. What if you're not here to do that? And so they said, all right, we'll move. We won't park here anymore. I'm like, great. So I ended up going to lunch, checking a few other properties. It's like, let's go back there and check what happens. An hour and a half later, went back there. They're there still. And then that's when that other car was there as well. And I thought for sure that other car was maybe someone else with them. No, it was a different tenant or a tenant's friend. I'm not sure, just parking there, and they were not with their car, so I put a green sticker on it, and said no parking, it'll be towed, yada, 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 and talked to the other people again. I'm like, hey, what are you guys doing? Like, we're washing our car. I'm like, you said you're moving, why aren't you moving, what's going on? Like, okay, we'll move, and they're like, why can't we park here? And went over the same thing again. and said, hey, you're going to get towed. This is no parking zone. You can park on the street. And they're like, there's no parking on the street. I'm like, there's tons of parking on the street. I just drove around there. There's all kinds of places to park. So I may have to go back there again. We'll see. But why aren't we just towing these vehicles? I wish we could. In fact, we've talked to a towing company last week after that other truck was there, because that truck had been there before. We'd sent out a letter. People stopped parking in there for a while. Then they started parking in there again. And then we stickered that truck. They weren't there, parked there this time. We saw them on the street. But these other cars were. And so Colorado just passed a tower's right legislation or something that makes it much more difficult to tow now. And we'll talk about how that works. So here is this legislation. They just passed, was it last year or 2022? I'm not sure. Colorado's passing so many new laws and changing everything so fast. It's virtually impossible to keep up with everything they're doing. And so apparently there was a huge problem with non-consensual tows, where if people parked illegally or where they're not supposed to be, they got towed without giving permission to be towed, which is kind of how I thought it was supposed to work, but apparently not. Apparently, it's supposed to be much more difficult to tow people who are parked illegally or where they're not supposed to park. So this legislation makes it so that you have to give 24 hours notice before towing on residential properties. There are a few exceptions to this. One being if you're blocking a driveway or entrance, if you're in a fire zone, if it's a permit-only parking area and you don't have a permit. Those are some times when you can park or tow without 24 hours notice. Now, I clicked on that link and got to the actual act because sometimes the state summary does not cover all the intricacies of the actual bill, even though I do not like reading through pages of mumbo jumbo and legal talk. A lot of times there's more information in here than even on the state website, and there was here too. So there are actually some additional ways you can tow people too, which aren't mentioned in that other form, and that's if the property owner is there to give permission, or if the person has already committed the violation twice and it's their third violation, you don't have to wait 24 hours. So we had called the towing company and said, hey, there's people here. They're blocking the driveway. Can you come tow them? And the towing company said, well, we can if the property owner shows up, signs a form, and is there to approve it while we're there. So like, oh boy. So we're like, all right, we'll try and head over. And then I realized, well, this new towing bill is in effect. I went through Reddit, and one of the other stipulations on this new towing bill is that if the person is there to stop the tow while the car is still on private property, the towing company has to release it on the spot and not charge anything. So basically, the tow company could come, get this car all hooked up, get everything ready to go. They could be driving off the lot but still on the driveway. And if the person comes out, stops them and says, hey, stop, release my car, they've got to release it, not charge them anything, and let it go. So you can imagine the tow companies are pretty hesitant to want to tow anything on private property anymore because of this. Because, I mean, hey, if I'm a tow company and I've got to go drive to a place, spend money on gas, spend time, go hook up the vehicle, and at any point someone can come along and say, oh, you've got to let it go, I've got to let it go, and make zero money, that's not a very good business model. So it just gets more and more difficult here, and we could say that they're blocking the driveway, but I don't know if the law, like they're in the driveway, but they're not really blocking the driveway. So does that constitute being able to tow them? I'm not sure. Will the tow company say that constitutes it? Maybe, maybe not. Now, if I'm there to sign off on it, then maybe that would work. But again, are they going to come back to me and say they got illegally towed and I signed off on the wrong thing? Probably not, but who knows? It's just a lot of hoops and stuff we have to jump through now, where if you're told not to park somewhere, if you're blocking a garage, you would think it would be pretty common sense. One, just don't park there. Two, if you park there, you could get towed and have to pay for it, not just get off scot-free without having to do anything at all and just keep parking wherever you want. And another issue we had today, well, which what started all this was, like I said, my contractor was over there working on something, and he saw the cars over there blocking the drive, sent me a picture. Well, in one of the units, after we remodeled it, we got it rented, their toilet backed up. And it backed up so much it flooded the bathroom floor and flooded the carpet in one of the bedrooms. So I don't know how they managed to do that. I don't know if they just kept flushing it, but it wasn't poo water, luckily, just who knows. But that's a tricky situation, because if it's a plumbing issue, a plumbing problem, that's the landlord's responsibility. But if the tenants are clogging up the toilet with who knows what, that's their responsibility. So we had to go over there, clean up the mess, put a dehumidifier in there to hopefully save the carpet, and put some fans up, and we'll see what happens. But again, then do you charge the tenants? Do you not charge the tenants? How do you charge the tenants if you decide to charge them? There's lots of issues right there that we've got to deal with. And of course, the car that showed up and parked in front of the other garages and left was, I don't know if it was a tenant in that same unit or someone visiting that same unit, but they came out of that unit and we saw them after I put a green sticker on their vehicle. And the other issue we had is when this happened, it was on a Saturday. And they called our office line and left a message. We have a dedicated emergency line, a property management line. That number is listed on our voicemail at the office. They did not call that. They did not let us know. They did not tell anybody except for leaving a message on our general line until Monday. So the water has just been sitting there for 2 days because they didn't call the property management line or text or email. There's all different ways they can contact us, and they have all that information. They just text or just called our regular line and left a message there. So that's the Ocho. That's what we're dealing with right now. Like I said, we're ordering some signs. We'll have them up soon. I don't know why you need signs to tell people not to park in front of other people's garages, but apparently you do, especially when they have letters and detailed information on where to park and how to park. It's not a big surprise, right? They knew this when they moved in, what the parking situation was. They each get a garage and then they park in the street. So we'll see. I've had a lot of people mention, oh, you should just build a parking lot so you don't have this issue. Well, according to city code, you've got to have like 1.1 spots per bedroom or something. I forget what it is. But we need like 15 to 17 parking spots. If we do that, then maybe the city won't make you do all the spots, but maybe they will, and you have to build a giant parking lot that costs $30,000 or who knows how much, because it's got to be paved. You got to have access. You probably need lighting. Who knows what you need there, and that's $30,000 or more we're spending, which won't add really any value to the property at all, and will cause probably issues with our sprinkler systems, moving it, rearranging it. The grass looks much better now than it did back then, by the way. Like, this was an old video. I think it was in winter too, which always makes a difference. So yeah, there's options. There's different things you can do. My theory is, the property's got rules. It's very clear what comes with it when you rent it. There's no confusion. If you can't follow the rules, don't rent the property. If people can't follow the rules, I don't think it's the landlord's job to keep adding and changing things and accommodating people because they can't follow the rules and what they signed up for. I know, call me crazy. That's how I feel. There's some of our coin-op laundry money, by the way. That's still going well. So we have a washer and dryer here. Kind of got me started on my laundromats that many of you watch me post about too. So we'll see how this goes. Hopefully the signs will help. Hopefully I don't have to show up there and sign something to get somebody towed if it keeps happening, and then they can just have their car released because they show up. But that's a possibility. All right, we'll keep you posted. We'll keep you updated. Any comments or suggestions, love to hear them. And we'll be back with more on the drama at the Ocho, the complex, and everywhere else. Thanks a lot. Be back soon.